Welcome to another episode of the VetRise Podcast. I'm here today to tell you a little bit more about me. Now, this is episode 41. A lot of people have been messaging me and asking me, you can find me on social media, by the way, and I will reply. And they've been asking me to do an episode where I kind of just share who is it that I am, right? Now, if you do follow me on social media, you know that in the past week, I actually released a post talking about the fact that I am currently in law enforcement. And the reason why I did that was because I felt it was time. I felt that I have not been talking about it, and I kept saying to myself that it's because of safety. And partially, yes, it's never a good idea to put that out there, especially if you're new to law enforcement and you don't control your social media very well. But obviously, I'm a very public figure, I guess, which is still very new to me. I've only been doing this for a year and a half now. And I also definitely feel like I do this full time. And what is this, right? It's not just a podcast. So I have an online coaching business called the VetRise Academy. In the academy, I coach veterans on fitness, nutrition, accountability, and mindset. However, I also make videos online, and I also have this podcast. And it has been growing and growing and growing exponentially to the point where it has taken on a life of its own. And I do this, and honestly, I consider this to be full-time work. My clients, I serve them full-time. And I didn't talk about my career in law enforcement because I felt like, how can I do both? And if people see me doing both, how will they feel like I'm really invested in my coaching business? And I realized that it was a self-limiting belief that I had put on myself because I was still doing it. So in my opinion, if you believe something to be true, you really have to ask yourself, what evidence do I have that says this? And if you have none, then you have none. So I had no evidence that said that I couldn't do what I was doing. I was doing the business, running it full time. I'm doing podcast episodes, and I am a full-time law enforcement officer, right? Now, I will be retiring from the department in November of this year. And then I will lean into this even more. You're going to see much more from me. There's going to be many more podcast episodes. The YouTube channel will be much more intentional, and we'll be releasing more videos on YouTube. And the coaching business will exponentially grow as well. And what I do in the business is I help veterans or non-veterans with fitness, nutrition, accountability, and mindset. They come into the program, they get surrounded by a very supportive community. And if you've thought about doing this and you thought about trying to change your life and you feel like, well, I want to do it on my own, let me give you a little newsflash. This is you doing it on your own. I'm not going to force you to do the workouts. I'm not going to force you to do the meal prep. I'm going to encourage you, teach you, and give you the enthusiasm and support that you need to get there. Same with the workouts. We break them down simply for you, and they make sense, and you can actually watch videos and see how to do the workouts without feeling overwhelmed or without feeling like you don't know what to do in the gym. Nutrition, same thing. We have recipes, ingredients, shopping lists, all of it. And the reason I'm talking about this is because I want you guys to be aware of how you can get more access to me. If you just want to watch my videos on YouTube or watch my shorts on TikTok or YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, that's perfectly fine. I have no issue with that, and I appreciate you guys so much. But if you want more and you want to do more than just listen to the podcast and you want to actually participate in my specific coaching program where there's one-on-one coaching, and we do coaching calls every Monday, every Thursday, and we have master classes throughout the month. We have one today. Then go ahead and look me up on social media and click the link in my bio. Click the link in my bio. You can also find the link in the description of this podcast episode. Now, again, the gist of it is that you come into the program and I help you change your life. That is the end goal, right? And again, I'm talking about this because if you've thought about it and you want to get back into the gym, you want to start losing a couple pounds, if you want to change your mindset, if you want to learn how to say no to people, if you want to learn how to start changing your limiting self-beliefs, negative self-talk, work on your morning routine, work on your sleep optimization, get your fitness in line, and actually build some amazing habits for yourself, the VetRise Academy is the place for you. We've had clients who have moved out of their parents' basement. They've been able to get promoted at work. They've lost 70 to 80 pounds. And now they're taking on challenges that they never thought they'd address. They feel comfortable in the gym. They're actually getting questions from people at the gym when they never thought they'd even be able to go to the gym. So what we do is very unique because it's not just about fitness. I'm not going to tell you, hey, just go do these workouts and I'll see you, later on. No, like we do bi-weekly check-ins. It's very much created in a way to help you win, because that's what I want for you guys, right? So if you've been listening to the podcast and you want to know more about me, let me tell you a little bit more about who I am, what I do, and my life. So I went into the Marine Corps in 2008. I joined the Marine Corps because I had no future ahead of me. I was in high school. I had been expelled and suspended from at least, I think, 3 different high schools. I ended up going to 4 different high schools. And I finally met a teacher in my final year of school who got my head on right and told me, like, if you don't do this, if you don't enlist, if you don't decide to like join the Marines or do something with your life, like you're going nowhere. And I never thought about the future. So I did that. I enlisted in the Marine Corps. Initially, it was going to be the Army, but you know what? The Marine Corps, I don't know what it was. It drew me in. And it definitely has something to do with the fact that they don't act like they need you, right? Like they want you to want them. And I was definitely brought in by that mentality. Fast forward, I went off. I did boot camp, came home, went back to my unit. I ended up in 3rd Battalion, 1st Marines, Lima Company. Did the workup with them. Did the entire workup with them, and I ended up deploying to Afghanistan in 2010 in Helmand. We were down in Safar, and it was kinetic. We did lose some of our men. It was hard. We had injuries. We saw combat. I'll put it to you that way. And then when I came back, I decided that I wanted to do something that I always wanted to do. And I tried out for the Scout Sniper Platoon. I did the NDOC. I ran the NDOC and I passed. And I was brought into the State Platoon, which is Surveillance and Target Acquisition in 3rd Battalion, 1st Marines. And I did that. I was what you call a PIG, which is ironic. I know, right? It's a professionally instructed gunman. And that basically means that you have not gone to Scout Sniper School. And it's interesting because right now there is no Scout Sniper School anymore. I do think it will come back, but as of this recording right now, the Marine Corps has decided that they will not be employing specifically Scout Snipers in the near future. We still have snipers. Recon Marines are still going through a sniper school that is a little bit different, but we don't have Scout Sniper platoons anymore in the infantry battalions, which I think is a huge miss on part of the Marine Corps. But that's neither here nor there right now. I was in the platoon. I went off to sniper school and I graduated. I went back and I deployed again with my Scout Sniper platoon. We did a MEU. We went all over and we did a lot of training with different units. We went to Djibouti, Malaysia, a lot of different places, and it was an awesome experience. And then I got out. And I made every mistake that you could make. Initially, I went to work for a private security firm, and that was in San Francisco, and I hated it. I started drinking all the time. I ended up quitting that job and moving back to Chicago, and I fell in love, or it was love, right? But it was also very fast. And it was also me forcing and pushing something to happen that maybe shouldn't have happened just because of the circumstances, and no fault of her. It's all me. And I thought, all right, well, what do I have to do next? And I thought I had to follow this rule book. And I was drinking all the time, and I couldn't find a job that really I wanted to do. And I ended up selling sheets at a mall. And I moved in with my girlfriend at the time, and we got a dog, and, I got engaged, and we ended up getting married. Throughout this time, I'm looking for employment in the police department because that's all I want to do. Why? Because it made sense to me. Because I'm like, all right, I left the military. What is next for me? And law enforcement seemed like the common sense answer. And it's not that I agree or disagree with that mentality. I just don't want veterans, specifically grunts, to feel like that's the only thing they can't do. They can do a lot more. And I want you guys to really get that through your heads. So again, I was drinking all the time. I was getting fat, out of shape. I finally got hired on with the department after testing at like 20 different departments. And during this time, I was going to school at DePaul University. And I was working at a nonprofit for veterans. Finally, I got a job that kind of helped me work with other service members and veterans. And I enjoyed it. I loved it. It was a great stepping stone for the future. It helped me feel a little bit of empowerment in my return to society. And it was a great stepping stone for the next chapter in life. So I went to work for the department, and I loved it. I did really well in the department because I held on to a lot of the negative stuff from my time in the service, which means the egotistical self, the fact that I felt like I was better than everybody else, the fact that like I felt like I had to perform better than everybody else, and I wanted people to not like me because that meant that the people that were around me, my team per se, because I ended up on a TAC team fairly quickly, we were the ones that everybody wanted to be like, and everybody was jealous of us. And there's some truth to that, but at the same time, like it was very much the wrong type of mentality. And fast forward to now, during these years, I made a lot of mistakes, and I'm not going to cover all of them today because that would take us for forever. But I'm going to talk about what is it that I did that helped me change my life. I started reading. And I realized like all the drinking, all the fast food that I was eating, all the weight that I gained, all of the smoking that I was doing, it was on me. Nobody else was doing this to me. It was my responsibility to make a change in my life. And if I didn't see that, if I didn't come to that realization, I don't know where the hell I'd be right now. But I did. And I started getting my life in order. I hired a coach. I started working out again. I actually decided that I'm going to quit cold turkey smoking. And I did. And I wasn't drinking anymore. And honestly, my life started to get better and better and better because I realized like it's on me. Like I am responsible for myself. The reason I am where I am at, whether happy or unhappy, or the job that I have or the job that I don't want to have, it's on me. Nobody did this to me. Nobody forced me to join this or that. Nobody forced me to do this or that. Nobody besides me. And I think that too many veterans feel like they don't have control over their life because they don't realize that every decision they make, every single decision that they make, it's on them. Nobody is forcing you to drink every night. Nobody is forcing you to be bitter towards the world. Nobody is forcing you to smoke. Nobody is forcing you to miss your VA appointments. Nobody is forcing you to not research how to properly fill out a resume or an application or get the job that you want. Nobody is telling you, hey, you can't do that. It's about realizing that there are other ways of doing things, and we have to change our mindset. Because if we don't, we'll be stuck where we're at. And nobody wants that. So again, I started making some changes in my life, and I realized like I can do this. And I did that. And I got my life in order, and I quit the drinking, and I got everything where I wanted it to be. Of course, things fell apart. My first marriage fell apart because of me, because of infidelity. And that's me being honest and vulnerable. And most people won't say that. But I do, because my mistakes of my past, if I don't speak about them, if I don't talk about them, if I don't realize that they were mine, I won't learn from them, right? And honestly, I think this is the first time I'm publicly saying that out loud. And you know, if you're listening to this and you personally know me, like this is going to be you getting to know me a little bit better, right? And this is the honest to God truth. And it hurts. It hurts because you know what? I hurt someone who didn't deserve to be hurt, who was nothing but kind to me, and who I put through a lot of pain for no reason because I was in a bad place and I didn't work on myself. And everything fell apart and it spiraled. And then all I did for a year was basically go on all these dates and try and get to know myself while still working out, while still supposedly working on myself. But I was very much lost and I didn't know how to be alone. And that's a whole nother issue that veterans face. But I didn't know how to be alone. I didn't know how to manage like my own insecurities, my own like just mindset. So what happened? Well, I started dating again and I found someone and we had children, and fast forward to now, and going through a divorce. And it's been very hard, very difficult. And I've been in a depressed stage of my life for the past year. But I leaned into the business, leaned into the podcast, leaned into understanding that if I talk about what I am going through, as I go through it, there is learning that occurs. See, we think that the work that we're doing is going to be the thing that gives us the result that we want at the end, but the work is the work. The daily reflection of what went well, what didn't go well, and what can I do better for tomorrow, that is the work. Like, you are actively working on yourself every single day. I don't like the term a work in progress because that kind of, to me, means that you're working towards something and then one day you'll have progress. But I think that you are currently right now, every single day, succeeding because you are becoming the better version of yourself than you were yesterday. And if you don't think that way, if you think that, as I do the work and I go to the gym and I start eating healthier, one day I will be where I want to be, you're going to miss the journey. And if you miss the journey, you're not learning the lessons that you can learn along the way of that journey. And they are so invaluable. So, as you learn these lessons through the journey of doing the work, you understand that just because you're depressed or just because you're feeling sad for that one moment, it doesn't mean that your entire week, month, year is lost. Not at all. It just means that you need to do something to get yourself out of there. That is you doing the work. So if you're depressed, you need to get yourself out, which means get to the gym, go outside, go for a walk. And if you feel anxiety, to me, that means you have to get yourself in. Remove yourself from the world. Take time to recover. Like, all the noise that is out there is not benefiting you. And I personally think that all it takes is all you got. And what do I mean by that? So, like, if you are at a low place right now and you want to get started and just change your life, you have to be so conscious in your day-to-day that you see the changes you're making. So, for example, let's just say that if I had to start all over again and I was drinking every day and smoking a pack of cigarettes a day and not working out and eating fast food all the time, this is what I would do if I were you. I would start lowering my alcohol intake day by day. So if I have 3 beers every night, maybe I lower it to 1. And then you pay attention. So that means that tomorrow when you wake up, you're not hungover. All of a sudden you're like, okay, this feels better. All right, maybe today I'm going to go for a 10-minute walk. And you do that. And you realize, like, okay, nature is beautiful. I'm getting some fresh air. And then you start paying attention to those wins. And then tomorrow, okay, I went on a 10-minute walk. I only had 1 beer last night. Today, I'm going to go ahead and make myself a nice, delicious steak on my grill that I have sitting back there that I haven't used for years. And then you realize that, okay, wow, I actually don't feel disgusting after eating food that I made. Okay, tonight, I'm not going to have any beers. And you know what? Tomorrow, I'm going to go for a run. And before you know it, you have started to change the trajectory of where your life is headed. And it's you. You're doing the work. Nobody's doing it for you. Now, if you need guidance and assistance and community, that doesn't mean that you're not doing it. It just means that you are leveling up to the point where that extra help is going to get you to that extra hill. Because we need to keep going up. The journey never stops. Progression is continuous. And we have to remember this. So again, as I'm going through that week and I start making my own food and going for a run, and you know what? I'm going to join a gym and I sign up for a membership. It doesn't mean that you have to go there every single day for 2 hours and destroy your body. No, you're not in anymore. It doesn't work that way. You need to understand, all right, today I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to do a 20-minute workout. Tomorrow, okay, I'll go again. Maybe I'll hop on the treadmill. All right, I don't know what to do. Maybe I'm going to research this, or maybe I hire a coach, and that way I have a program that I follow. And you have to reflect daily, right? So, like, one of the things that I do is in the mornings, it's not just positive affirmations in the mirror. Positive affirmations only work if they're actionable. So I like to do more of an actionable affirmation in the mirror. Today, I'm going to have a great day. Today is the best day ever. Today, I'm not going to get angry at the small stuff. Today, I'm going to hit the gym and freaking crush it. And therefore, I do those things. It's not today I'm going to make $1 million, or today I am going to find the love of my life, or today I'm going to love myself. Like, what does that look like? We don't know. Loving yourself can look like a lot of things, but you crushing the gym or you making sure you don't get angry about someone cutting you off in traffic, we know what that looks like. And at the end of the day, do the same thing. Reflect back. Now, what is the best tool? What is the best way to make sure you follow through with this? It's very simple, actually. Here you go. Ready? Put it on your calendar. That's it. That's it. Set it to repeat. If you're going to the gym and you want to make sure you go train in the mornings, put it on your calendar and set it to repeat as many days as you want to go to the gym, and then put the address of the gym in there. So when it pops up, all you have to do is hit go, and then it hits you there. You have no excuses. And that way, on Friday night, when you already programmed your meal prep time in there for the week, when freaking Joe Schmuckatelli wants to tell you, like, hey, let's go grab a beer, you can say, no, I'm busy. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to defend why you're busy. You're just busy. It's okay to say no. It's okay to say no to people. Like, people have all these ideas of what you should be doing or what you shouldn't be doing. Don't take advice from them. I'm sorry, but they're not you. They see you from a perspective of what they think you're going through based off what they see, but you don't show everybody everything because you can't and you shouldn't. So therefore, that person is not positioned properly to tell you what you should or shouldn't do. Only you can know that. And how do you find that out? Well, start doing an inventory, a self-inventory of where you're at. And if you are overweight, then okay, guess what? That means we need to start getting to the gym, getting 10,000 steps a day, making sure we meal prep at least 4 times a week, limiting the carbs if we know that all we do is load up on fries when we go to McDonald's, stop the drinking every night. Like, these are the things that you can do, putting everything on your calendar. And by the way, if you don't look at your calendar first thing in the morning, your day is going to be wild. We look at our phones so much, yet we don't open up our calendar because we don't want to look at our day of what we have to do. Put a fucking Post-it note on your bathroom mirror that says, open up your calendar. And then do that. And then follow it to a T. If you have to adjust because there's an emergency, guess what? You can click and drag your workout to another open slot that you have. Okay? Like, by the way, not everything is an emergency. Most things aren't. All right? So I want you guys to understand that. Now, obviously, there are things that are emergencies, but most things aren't. And you don't have to pick up every phone call that comes into your phone. You don't have to answer every text message that people send you. You don't. And I want you guys to really understand that. So, all right, now that we understand that if I were to start all over, I would follow everything on my calendar. I would join a gym. I would start working out a little bit. And then before you know it, you have changed the trajectory of your life. And now you're working out constantly. You love it and you enjoy it. And guess what? Now you have more mental clarity. That maybe you start therapy. Or maybe you decide to work on your relationship. Or maybe you decide that you don't want to be in the relationship you're in anymore. Maybe you are being held back. But the clarity only comes after you have gotten rid of the clutter in your life. The clutter in your life is all the fast food, the drinking, the miserable job, the alcohol, the smoking, the fast food. All of that is just all this mess that you have in your life. It's clutter. And until you actively work on removing that clutter, organizing yourself by actually putting everything on your calendar, and then following that calendar, you can't make space for something new in your life. You can't. Because the moment that you try and make space for something new in your life, when you're at a point where you still have a shit ton of clutter, you're going to start to feel overwhelmed. Just like, oh, I knew I couldn't do it. And this is why I don't join a gym. Well, no, motherfucker. Like, you joined the gym without like realizing that you have to put on your calendar. So therefore you haven't gone in a week. And then you convince yourself of like, oh, well, you see, I told you I can't do it right now. You're not doing it, not because you can't, but because you don't want to. If it's important enough to you, you will make time for it. And you should more than definitely be important enough to yourself to make time for the gym, for eating right, for going to bed on time, waking up on time, getting your steps in, not being a negative Nancy, and not using dark humor 24/7, or not feeling angry about the world or bitter. Like, all those things are things that we have in us that don't help us. And we think that it's because of the world, but it's not. Society is not out to get us. Like, we keep missing the mark on this. We think that society is out to get us and everybody hates veterans and no one understands me. Listen, you keep alienating yourself because all you do is talk about your time in the service. All you do is brag about what you've done. All you do is make fun of other people in the military who didn't do what you did. And like, that's only hurting not just you, but the image that people have of you and the image that people have of other veterans. Like, do something now. Do something now. You were a badass then. Freaking be a badass now. Start staying organized. Go to the gym. Stop staying up till 2 a.m. And again, this episode was to talk about what I do and what I'm doing and why I did it. This is why. Because I'm trying to change the veteran culture, because I don't want veteran suicide to be the thing that is holding us back as a society. Because it shouldn't happen that way. And veteran suicide is not the number one veteran issue. And what I mean by that is that the number one veteran issue is that loss of identity, that loss of purpose, that loss of mission. And then before you know it, the next issue is the drinking. And the third issue is the fact that they self-sabotage. And the fifth issue is the fact that they alienate themselves from everybody. And before you know it, yes, they get to the issue of possibly taking their lives. And that is the biggest issue. But it starts with the loss of identity. And we can address that by you taking the time, finding out who you are, by letting go of the negative attributes that the military gave you, and reinforcing and staying on top of the good ones, because everything does have to change. You do have to reset it. Even your leadership needs to change. People cannot be knife-handed out here. You have to talk to them differently. And it's not being soft. It's being a human being. Because guess what? Everybody else can do it. Why can't we? We should be able to do it just as good, if not better, because we're supposed to be masters of camouflage. We're supposed to learn how to adapt, improvise, overcome. But we forget these things when we get out. And that's an issue. So, yes, I am in law enforcement. I will be retiring in November. I have a coaching program called the VetRise Academy. I am on all social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, the Facebook, you name it. And if you want to start changing your life, you don't have to hire me as a coach. You just have to decide that you want to change your life. So like, start putting every single workout on your calendar. And by the way, don't call it working out. Call it training. Because that's what you're doing. You're training for life. You're not training for a deployment. You're training for life. And then have a plan to go to the gym. And then in your week, everything that you want to do, whether it's reviewing your week, whether it's dinner with your family, whether it's meal prep time, whether it's 10-minute or 15-minute walk every day, it has to go on your calendar. And if you have work, guess what? You put your work on there. And then in between your work, you have lunch. And then you have a 20-minute window to do a 20-minute walk. And then put on your calendar. Before you know it, you will start seeing progression. Because why? Because we are paying attention. We're not just doing the things without realizing what's changing. And as you do these things and you wake up with more energy, like, you know what? I do want to join the program, and I do want a community. Or, you know what? I want to stop going on Facebook all day and just posting all this negative stuff on all these negative veteran groups, because there are so many of them. I want more from you. I want you to win. Like, that is my end state. My commander's intent is that I want you to win. I want you to win above everything else. And the only way that we can get you there is by you applying the things that you hear me talk about, the things that you've learned from other people, the things that you read about, applying those things to your life, because information without implementation is just noise. And if you want to change the trajectory of your life, if you want to get your life back on order, you have to make sure that as you take the little steps, you look back and you realize, like, wow, I could have been over there, but now I'm here, thankfully. What am I going to do today to make my life a little bit better today? You know what? Today, Instead of 3 beers, just 1. Tomorrow, no beers. The day after, I smoked a little bit less. The day after, I joined a gym. The day after, maybe I apologize to my parents because of the way that I acted, and they start welcoming me back into the family. It doesn't happen overnight. But the decision to change is that. It's a decision. It could be a flip of a switch in your mind. And that's what I want for all of you guys. I want you all to win. If you're hearing this podcast and you're enjoying it, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. Go and give it a rating, a review on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening, because I'm learning that you have to ask for things, right? So if I don't, then you guys won't do it. And it's not your fault. It's mine. I didn't speak up. But I do want more people to be able to hear this message. I do want more veterans to be able to learn about this podcast. And the way that we do that is by boosting it in the charts, by more people liking it, by reviewing it, by rating it, by downloading each and every episode. Because when you do that, the numbers do go up. And by sharing it with people. Like, share it with everybody you know that you think will benefit from this podcast. It's not just for veterans. Like, do I speak primarily to veterans? Sure. But I think a lot of people can benefit from this message because, again, it's about being in society and being a human being. You're not in anymore. And that's okay. So again, thank you guys for your time. I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you freaking crush your day. Adios.